Amanda Sitko, welcome. We have like the longest improv history in LA together because you were in my UCB 301 class.
And I remember being like, she's on a fucking Herald team and she's in this class. Like, what is happening?
It was a condition of my placement on a team. They were like, you have to take classes and make sure you understand game. And I was like, what's game? And they're like, exactly.
And that was back when like they didn't, for the longest time, like they didn't have a definition for game. Like there was no way that they could point to something and be like, hey, this is game. Yeah. And I don't know if they do now in the textbook. Is there?
Yeah. I mean, it's like whatever the first unusual thing is or the most unusual thing or, you know, and now it's a little looser. It's like when people teach and coach, it's like, what do you think is fun to play
I
here?
remember Besser once said it in a class. He said, whatever's funny about the scene, you just make it funnier. And that's like the best definition of game I could ever think of, where I was just like, that's what it is. But it's so intangible. Like I felt like when you walked into UCB, there should be like a plaque on the wall that's like, this is our mission statement, definition of game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's just the instruction is just do comedy. You know, it's just for people, when you start putting vocabulary to it and try to reverse engineer it, it can muddy the waters versus just doing what we have always found funny and how comedy works. Which is heightening things.
And the craziest thing too is like, because I've got 2 little kids and it's wild to try and explain to them that I'm like, if you push it, it's not funny anymore. Right. Like the harder you try to be funny, the least funny you're going to be. So like
trying to teach that to little kids is very funny. Hey, amp up the subtlety. Okay.
Yeah. But also just like the repetition where it's like, it's not funny if you keep doing it too much. Like you got to pull back and you got to wait for those moments to bring it in again. And then like,
Are they figuring that out?
Ish. The funny thing is one of my kids is just very naturally funny and like very just like you couldn't ask for a more just like she's hilarious. And then the other one tries to be funny. she sometimes hits it, but like the other one just like it comes and I'm like, I don't know how to innately instill this in you. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. Like you're a comedian and your partner is a normie.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like
we call him a muggle and he hates it so much. Like he's
you and
like,
your kids do?
No.
Oh.
Just like my brother and I, like because we're both artists, so like we refer to like people who are normies as muggles.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting like genetic study. Yes. It's like I think there is some innate genetic like disposition to having a sense of humor or having a comedic instinct. Not to say that it can't be trained and taught in people who like you know
and
spend
as like
time
a teacher, that was a thing that like constantly there were people who were blowing my mind where I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this person in like 2 years. They've been off taking classes and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, they get
clicked.
it. Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. I learned that lesson along my teaching journey, like especially during boot camp. I was like, oh, the lesson is don't ever write someone off.
No.
Like even someone who you're like, geez, what are they doing here? Could turn around and surprise you.
Yeah. We'll get into more stuff later, but like, I have thoughts on that.
Say it now.
Well, for my thing is like, I think the biggest thing I've noticed lately is like what I would call lack of life experience then is reflected in how they play. Because I'm just like, oh, you don't know how these certain scenarios would typically play out or these dynamics. You haven't experienced like the pain of this yet. So then for you, like all you can do is like pretend in this scenario. And I'm like, oh, I can see you haven't lived this. And so it's not working in the way that you think it should.
There's like a lack of the believability and a lack of base reality. Because like even that feels a little bit distant and cartoonish because it's like we're acting like people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like I just took these classes.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that.
So, I'm a parent and I fucking have kids. And so that's what being a parent means.
Hold on. Let me write that down.
Okay, cool.
Because there should be a plaque above that says, this is what being a parent is.
But, so basically I needed something where it's like, I want to play as much as possible. Like I want to perform more. I want to do that kind of stuff. But the problem is I either have to like wait to do an indie show, which is going to be like a Friday at 11 p.m., which is hard for me. And it's always like, I kept feeling like, yes, I could maybe perform once a month in these like one-off shows, but I'm jumping into a team that like plays together all the time, and I'm sort of sitting in, and it doesn't feel good because I feel like it's like I'm rickety, I'm rusty. So I was like, oh, if I take a class, then it's a thing that's like scheduled every week. I know when it's going to be, so I can handle like childcare, all that kind of stuff. It's not at an insane hour. But then the weird thing became, well, who can I take a class from? Because like everyone teaching now, probably at some point we either were on a team together or I taught them.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what is that? And then I found out Dasariski and Kakowski are teaching. And I was just like, oh, this could not be.
Dassy and Kakowski.
Oh,
Dasariski is the combo of all three of them. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. But Bob Dassey and Craig Kakowski.
Yeah.
And so I took the two of them back to back. And
incredible.
It blew my mind. Like I have not been humbled so greatly than the first day of that Dassey class, because I sat down and Dassey's like just going through the motions of like, here's how the class is going to work, all that kind of stuff. And then just did the thing that most teachers do at that level, which is, why is everybody here? And I was like, don't talk about having been a teacher for years and TourCo and ASSSSCAT, and don't talk about those things. Like, we don't need to be weird about it.
Don't be a blowhard, Sitko.
So like, I didn't say anything. And then I get up for my first scene and proceed to eat so much shit that it was just like, what is happening? And
thank God you didn't brag about all your resume
and I was
credits.
Like, oh my God. And because it was like, and then it just hit me where I was like, oh yeah, I'm being asked to get on stage right now with a stranger. And then now it's almost like the diaspora of improvisers where we used to all be like, we are UCB or we are IO. And now it's like, you could have come from a million different places. You've never taken UCB. So like the concept of game, like doesn't even enter your mind. And then if you're not from IO, like you don't have the structure of like, I really focus on like character and relationships. So then I'm getting on stage with people that it's like, the way I describe it is, it's sort of like, okay, I'm speaking Spanish and you're speaking Portuguese. And they're like very similar, but there are times where it just doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
great analogy.
Like, it was so weird. And then it just made me have so much empathy for my students in the past, just being like, oh my God, we're forcing you to get up with strangers. We're like asking you to play with people who are also just trying to figure this out. Like, if you are on a team, if you are on a Herald team, if you are on a weekend team, something else, I'm like, you are so spoiled.
Yeah.
Because same thing, like me sitting in on a show, like I just sat in with Rough Cut and I'm like, I'm sitting in with people that are all impeccable. So like, even if I suck, they're going to be amazing. But then to get on stage with someone and be like, I'm this rusty old bicycle.
Yeah.
And you're a pogo stick. And we're fucking trying to figure it out.
We're both trying to play basketball. What?
Yeah. Like, oh God.
It's interesting. What you're saying right now made me realize this for the first time. It's like improv is hard enough just to learn just your part of. It's hard to think on your feet and adjust and go with what's happening and let go of your ideas and not plan, but also be engaged and hear everything they're saying, but you're self-conscious because you're judging your last move. All of that is hard.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be funny and you're supposed to be like developing a character and speak and move like a different person. All of that is hard. It's analogous to like learning to juggle by yourself in your room. It's very, very hard. But improv isn't just juggling in a vacuum. You have to learn how to do that in tandem with someone. So you're juggling the pins together. Every juggler knows you learn by yourself first, and then you start adding the trick element of doing it with another person, which adds a layer. Improv doesn't go layer by layer. You're learning the first layer in tandem with the other person learning. And how hard is that?
It's so hard.
We're on like episode 100 and something of this podcast and are just now saying, whoa, improv is hard.
It's hard, you guys.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating. And there's always, in every class, there's always a person that is wild. So then it's also like, and then there's always the wild card person where it's like, who knows what's going to happen when any of us get on stage with this person.
Right.
And so it just made me realize, like, we are so, like, this whole system of how we build teams and how we teach this and all this kind of stuff. It's like, there are ways that we could probably improve it. Like, I always felt like when we were creating teams, and I'm sorry if I'm going off on like wild tangents.
I want this, yeah.
But to me, I'm like, oh, like, could we, I think you talked about this with someone recently where you could audition as a team as opposed to like being like, let's just put 8 strangers together and hope.
Right.
Because like that happened to me. I felt like I got in this Herald like cycle where I was on so many Herald teams.
Like the Hug Boat years.
Yes. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, and literally like there are teams where I'm like, I know I was on a team with Monica, but I can't remember the name. And I'm like, but I remember doing shows. And so the problem was it just felt like we kept getting like mashed together in the hopes that we would click. And it just never happened.
For the listeners, there was like this period of time where like teams would get changed like every 6 months or every year, like reliably. And like 1 or 2 teams would make it through untouched. And then every other team, they would just get broken up and like reformed into new teams, like in an attempt to like angle towards better chemistry.
But then also adding in new members,
new people,
where it's like, oh, there are a few people who are just taken off.
Yeah, some
completely.
People cut, some people added in, and then some people who are like, well, they're good, but not in this combo. So let's put them with these 3 new people and let's cut this person. And you were kind of in that cycle, that mill of...
and it just kind of kept going around and around. And I then something like I never quite got to have like my weekend team, which I was like, oh, what a bummer. And there were times that we would like put teams together, but again, just due to like how the theater was operating at the time, like we never quite hit. Like we put it together. Kevin Peterson and I put together, which I still think is a killer hook for a show. Do you remember there was also a time at UCB where they were like, every show must have a hook?
Yes.
And so ours was based on Post Secret, and it was, an old one. It was called Coming Clean, but people would write secrets.
That was a great show.
Yeah, and it was really fun.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off, but say what it was. Yeah.
So we would have a mailbox on stage, and everyone would come and write on the back of a postcard like a secret.
People in the audience could come up before the show started. Yeah.
And you would write a secret, and then we would just pull from the mailbox anytime we wanted a suggestion, and they were great. And sometimes you get ones that were clearly like an idiot making up a lie, but then we would just toss those to the sides and pull another one.
Yeah.
And they were fascinating. And then we also had like a Tumblr where we would post all of those, like, so you could see stuff that like didn't get pulled in the show. And that was so fun going backstage at the end and just reading through what didn't get pulled.
Yeah.
And that was great. And so I loved doing that, but it just felt like same thing. We were always trying to find like, well, who could be our core cast, and it just never quite took.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like you're like one of the classic great improvisers that has come through UCB LA, and it's like it sucks that there are people like you who fall through the cracks that like don't get a weekend team or like become, you know, solidified in like the permanent.
However, I will say, I got to be part of like what I would call, I don't know, like the inner circle or the golden circle of like performers for a long time. Yeah. And like, it was great, you know? And like, I think also something that I don't know if this is lacking now, but when I hung out after class with like students and I'd be like, oh, you guys aren't all going somewhere. And there's not like, there was always a house that someone would have that would be like the party house, where it's like, clearly we were all going to go to this place afterwards.
Going to the Midnight Mansion.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Or the Birthday Boy's house.
Right.
Or something
Colton's,
like that.
Yeah. Camp Hollywood.
Yeah. And we didn't have, I don't know if they still have that. And I think that might be something that's like making the scene maybe suffer.
Well, here's something interesting that might be playing into that is like the younger generation doesn't really drink. And we partied. You know, we were closing out Birds on Monday night. Like that's insane. Like staying till 2 a.m. on a Monday.
And if you were in New York, you were like closing out bars even
at
later.
4. Yeah. Like I wouldn't sleep when I went to DCM, not because I was seeing improv shows that whole time, but because I was at the party space and then out at a bar. And so it is, I wonder if that's an element, but
possibly.
I don't know.
But that's also healthier. Like, good for them.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not criticizing them for not drinking, but I wonder if that's an element of like the not hanging out is because there's not that culture of like, let's all go to the bar after.
Yeah. Or as a team, it would be like, we're all going to go to a cabin in Big Bear and spend a weekend just like bonding.
Yeah. I wonder if people are doing that.
I don't know. I asked.
Sound off on the Discord subscribers and let us know. Are you hanging out?
I recently saw a TikTok someone made that blew my mind because it was set at the Winchester Mystery House. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'm obsessed with Winchester Mystery House. I want to write an upstairs downstairs set in the Winchester Mystery House.
upstairs, downstairs, downstairs, dead end around the hall comedy.
Yeah, there definitely are ghosts here for sure, right? So I've like always had this idea of like that would make an amazing show, and I've been obsessed with it because I grew up in that area. And someone made a TikTok where they're walking around doing the like Vogue 70 questions thing bit, and it's Nick Tiffany. I don't know if you know that improviser. And I had never seen him before. Funny. And first off, I'm like, you know, the specific thing from my childhood, like, who are you? Then I find out they're on a UCB Herald team and I'm like, okay, we
brilliant.
have to fucking hang out. So I was like, let's go to coffee. And speaking to them, they're on a Herald team. And I feel like they were kind of saying, no, we don't do those types of things anymore. And that kind of bummed me out because that was such a major part of the experience for me,
and really helps with shows. Like that level of team bonding where you're like doing bits and getting to know each other, and like it amps up the ability to be vulnerable and trust each other, and that invisible glue that helps a team.
Because I also feel like specifically I always feel like your first Herald team sort of feels, I don't know if you felt this way, like mine felt magical, even though it was like a wild team.
Mine felt tough. I did not have the magical experience.
But I feel like, to me, even though some of those guys are kind of problematic or, you know, like whatever, I look back at those guys and I'm like, oh, I would die for those dudes. Like, and we all came up in a time together that I'm just like, I loved all of them.
Yeah.
But then my hope is that that's what everyone's first experience is like, but it sounds like it's not, you know?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It just is what it is. Yeah. And there's like certain teams that have great chemistry but aren't great on stage together, or like can't pull off good heralds. There's teams that are the opposite, that like don't get along super well off stage but they're machines on. There's every permutation.
Yeah.
I want to go back to you eating shit and getting humbled on your day one of DASI. When you talk about, can you remember what the scene was? And like, I want to know like in what way were you perceiving that you were eating shit?
Started off where my scene partner was making like a froyo cup. So I was standing there and I looked over and I saw them doing like a physical action, but I didn't know what it was. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm just like, what's up? Like, you know, like, what are you doing essentially? And it eventually devolved into something that I was just like, in the moment you're watching this train wreck happen and you're like, I don't know how to get out of it, because the scene became me pointing out that the woman was getting too much frozen yogurt. So then I'm like essentially commenting on someone's weight that I've never met, like just kind of like judging them for the amount of food they're eating. But I'm literally like, why? Like, because I'm trying to find the unusual thing. Like I'm trying to be like, what is the game here?
And you're like, oh, this is unusual. You've pulled that handle for many times, because she's like trying to transmit the object work to you and show you what she's doing.
Oh no. So then I'm like, all I can do is point out, you're drinking too much yogurt. And I'm just like, this is awful. I don't know this person.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh, fuck me. And then it ended and DASI was just like, you were really confrontational. But I was confrontational because the whole time I'm like, what are you, like, you have to explain to me what's happening. And I think it's also the hard thing of realizing I am so game focused that in my mind, like organic becomes a little bit hard for me, because I'm like, if you're not initiating with a game, I'm gonna force one, but I don't want to, because this is the first time we're playing together and I want to give you the space. And in reality, I realize now that person may have not even been thinking about game. Like they may have just been like, oh, I'm just gonna eat frozen yogurt and see where it goes.
So you as an improviser feel like you need to like follow a line basically on the sidewalk. Is it scary or overwhelming to not have that, to just be nebulous?
It's not scary. For lack of a better term, it's not. Like in my mind, I'm like, that's the rules.
Yeah.
And we're following the rules. So like I find myself in scenes sometimes if someone's going off and doing something bizarre, like me being like, no, come back to like
focus up.
We're doing the rules.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, but then I don't want to feel like I'm the mom of the scene and being like, tisk guys, like we're off game here.
I mean, players like you are really valuable at times. Like it's, I find it fun to play with people like you, to like focus things up, and you do have like, you Sitko have like a really great internal sense of like the thing, or or what's the smart play here, or like how do we efficiently heighten this.
But it will make me so excited when a team member makes a move that I didn't see.
Yes,
that is like, ooh, like my bells ring, and because I'm just like, I never thought of that, but it fits within the rules.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited.
Funny.
Yeah. And I felt like there were certain players that would always do that. Like I always felt like Leffingwell had takes that like blew my mind.
Yes.
But then also there are some players that are just like, it's so obvious what this move is and I'm going to do it. And it's like, oh, it feels gratifying as well to be like, oh, you made the move that was like the most logical move to make. And it feels good. And I also think the audience then likes it because they understand, I thought he was going to do that, and he did.
Isn't that funny? I was thinking about this recently, that comedy is both things. Like, comedy is the element of surprise. Yeah. Like, you thought it was going to go one way and it didn't. But it's also the payoff of the thing you expected. Like, we don't want something such a surprise that it doesn't fit the pattern.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels nice to have it be like, oh, the slobby guy showed up for his date and he was slobby again.
Yes.
Like, don't be too creative, like, right? It's like, don't rewrite the joke in the middle of the joke. Stick to the joke and pay off the punchline.
And sometimes simplicity is so clean and perfect. I always think of improv like in terms of music, and I think of teams in terms of music, where I'm like, I think of Harold as like, that's pop music. It's formulaic. Everyone gets it. And the fun of it is when the chorus comes back around, you can sing along by the second chorus. Like, you understand. But there are performers that are fucking jam bands.
Yeah.
And there's performers that are like hip hop duos. And so I remember when I would be coaching Harold teams, I'm like, oh, this is clearly like a pop group, and this one player is doing like solo acoustic, and they're never gonna fit. Like, and I'm just like, and it's like, it sucks because I'm like, your solo acoustic stuff is great. And like, I love it.
But you can't rip a 20-minute guitar tangent in the middle of this pop chorus.
Yeah. And so it's just like, oh man. And it's the problem with teams that are put together is that acoustic player, then their self-worth is tied to like, well, I don't fit into this, so like clearly I must be wrong. And it's like, you're not wrong. You just don't play this genre.
You're caught in a different genre. Yeah.
And then in turn, you've talked about this a ton, like the fact that the Herald now is our standard is hard, because it's like, no, you can be an amazing solo artist, or you can be an amazing duo. Like, you don't have to be in this pop group. It's just, that's what makes the most money or whatever. This, like, that's what we're focusing on. But like, I always wanted to see like, how can we create spaces for people like that they don't really do what we do, like, but there's value there, and I want to see it.
Yeah. The Dassey class, what was he teaching? What was the topic of it?
Like, I think he was mostly Dassey, I'm sorry, but I think it was like sort of like him trying to let us into his brain a little bit, and like really focusing on relationship. But there wasn't necessarily like a set, like, this is what we're doing in this class.
Got it.
And even in Kakowski's class too, it wasn't like a, hey, here's what we're doing.
Because it strikes me that those sorts of classes that aren't like tied to a stringent program, like do go off the map and allow for fostering these other skills.
And it very much felt like he was taking the vibe of whoever was in the class and being like, okay, well, here's what you guys could probably work on versus like the other class he's teaching that is going to be something totally different. But it was also interesting because I got the impression that whatever he was teaching was like an ongoing workshop and kids were just like signing up again and again and just staying in it.
Yeah.
So there were some that like, clearly it was like, oh, you've been in this class for a long time now.
Yeah, that's what Craig does. I don't know if that's what Bob does also, but like it's like you go for a month at a time and then you can re-up and keep. So some people's journeys go on and on.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, it's like as an improviser, you kind of have to like look at your own ego because even like getting up and doing like proper warm-ups felt foreign. Or,
right.
You know, because I remember the first time I got to do ASSSSCAT, I was so nervous and being backstage and just being like, oh yeah, we're not going to play Zip Zap Zop.
Right.
Like, we're not doing some sort of, because even with my other teams, we would do something in the beginning to focus and just kind of realizing like, oh, no, this is just fun for you guys. And like, but to me, it feels like the culmination of everything I've worked towards.
Right.
And so.
Such a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys are just like showing up like you haven't even showered today.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about this all day.
I know. And I think that's the thing that I get in my head so much about that kind of stuff. And I still do with like work where it's like, oh my God, this has to be perfect or blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I think I need to learn how to have more fun. And I think going back into classes, realizing like, oh yeah, this is such a stressful environment. Like now I can understand why anxiety is high and why students are like, hey, I've only got you like for the DASI class, it was 4 classes long. Same with Kakowski. So I'm like, I only get to see you 4 times.
Yeah.
But then in turn, there was shit happening that I don't know if the teachers were aware of it, but like phones didn't really come into play when I was teaching. And now like I would just be like, they're just all on their phones, like while this person's talking.
Literally like scrolling around, or were they using their notes app?
I watched one person get notes from the teacher, and as they were getting notes from the teacher, I watched them purchase speakers. And I was just like, oh my God. And I just so badly wanted to be like, yeah, like she's doing something like, but it was just this thing where I was like, hey, and in my mind I had to be like, hey, we all paid the same price for this class, like no big deal.
Woof.
And yeah, just weird stuff like that. And there were sometimes people would be taking notes.
Yeah, but that's what I've seen.
Yeah, but it's also weird because I'm like, if I was teaching, I couldn't help but be like, if you're going to take notes, take them on a notepad because I don't want to have the fear that you're texting someone or doing something like that.
I should start bringing little like memo pads, those little mini ones and pens and be like, if you want to take notes, take it here. Because I do let people use their notes app, but it is distracting. And there is an element of like, I don't know, like sometimes I do see like what looks like scrolling and it's like, huh.
Yeah. Because also for me, I'm like, there's no way I'm not tempted to be like, well, did I get any emails? You know, or like, let me just check that text.
These machines are designed to capture our attention at all times.
Yeah.
So like that's, like by design, when you open it, there's some slot machine moment that's like, oh, well, I have to check that.
Yes.
So yeah, interesting element.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, so you said like you need to have more fun now. Did you kind of start getting there during those classes? Were you dabbling?
Yeah, but the problem was because they're only 4 weeks, I felt like the last 2, I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then it's like, well, goodbye forever, everyone.
I mean, why not take them again? Are you able to?
I think I might. And so in my first class, I made 2 buddies.
Oh.
Which was like, oh, this is fun. And literally they like were just like, hey, would you be on like a 3-on-3 team with us? And I was like, yes, like please, thank God. And we got to rehearse, like, which was hilarious though, because like my mom brain, there was one time where I was just upstairs giving my kids a bath and my husband comes up and he's like, hey, your friend Anthony's downstairs for rehearsal. And I'm like, oh shit, like run downstairs, put on a bra. And I'm like, hey guys. And yeah, I was just like, I'm so sorry, I forgot. But like, I was just like, oh, and like to me, I was like, oh, they don't realize like how much it meant to me just to be asked, where I was just like, oh, no one's asking. Like, I'm like this sort of like, oh God, I might start crying. Like older woman that's just like not playing anymore. And it's just like, oh, like someone wants to play.
Gosh. And it's so insane because like I know you as you, and it's like, God, everyone should be so like they should be so lucky that you're even taking this class,
thanks.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an interesting, strange.
Because it is like to be older. Like I recognize that sort of the world happened. Like
We're
sorry,
just
guys.
gonna weep.
I know, but like
I blame menopause.
it's God, so deep into menopause right now. But sort of this idea of like, I had already kind of stopped performing a ton because I was like writing. So it was like, oh, I have this other career that I have to like focus my energy on. And then the pandemic hit. I had my second child. And then after the pandemic, the writer strike happened. So then it was like, oh, all of my creative outlets are sort of taken away. So like, what does that now mean? And I think there's probably a lot of people who are in this stage right now where it is sort of like, I'm used to like getting to be around some of the funniest people in the world at all times.
Yeah.
And then we were teaching, it's like, oh, I'm in a building where I'm going to run into 50 people I know all the time. So to have that taken away is so just like, this feels bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, and then, yeah, in turn, it's weird because like, I feel like in these classes, they all tend to be younger. Like I made a buddy in the second class who was like a 52-year-old dad. And I was just like, thank God, like someone that understands like the stuff I want to do scenes about. And that's also the hard thing too, of being like, oh yeah, if I'm on stage with a 20-year-old and we're having a scene about a divorce, it's like, I'm going to go way deeper and darker than I think you even think about.
Right.
You know?
And their go-to might be to play the kid in the divorce because that maybe has recently been their life experience.
Yes. And so it's fascinating in that sense because I feel like we're all just coming at it from different points of life. And the problem is like, I feel this way. I used to host this show that wasn't an improvised show, but it was improvised in the sense that we didn't plan it, but it was called Date Night or the Stupid show because OkCupid sent us a cease and desist.
Did they really?
Yes. We had the OkCupid show. We got a cease and desist, and so we called it OK Stupid. We used to host this show, me and Eli Newell, where we would bring audience members or like people we contacted through dating apps to come and do like a show where they would go on a date live on stage in front of an audience.
It was great.
And it was super fun and I loved it. And we ended up like selling it to Sony and like made a pilot. I didn't know that. And yeah, like it was great. It was the first time where like we were just doing something that someone came to us and we're like, we want this. Like it wasn't like Eli and I were out pitching it and we were just like, this is great. And it was an awesome experience. And the crazy thing was though, at a certain point, I was like, I don't think people want to see a woman my age talk to them about modern dating because the people were like interacting with their 20-year-olds and stuff. And I'm like, and I feel especially now in like modern culture, I'm like, yeah, like a young queer kid is going to look at me and be like, what the fuck do you have to tell me about how I should be dating?
Right.
You know?
You're my art teacher.
Yes. And I'm just like, oh,
whoopsie.
Yeah. But it is like, I do fuck. Like I have 2 kids. Right. Like I've fucked at least twice.
That's how you start the show. Pictures of your kids. Hey, look, I fuck.
This is what's up. And so like, I feel that way a little bit with performing now where I'm like, if I put a team together of people my age, or is everyone going to kind of be like, ugh, like,
what's so wild about that is like until you said all of these things, I don't perceive myself as being like I feel the same.
Yes.
Like I have more life experience.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm more tired. Like late shows are a tough ask. Like I'm never gonna do an 11 p.m.er anymore. Mm-hmm. But like other than that, like I feel like I'm the same. And it's so weird. It's like you're saying all that and I'm like, oh God, like am I like irrelevant and like seen as this old lady on stage? Like
I don't, and maybe that's purely my own projection. It's that classic thing, and it happens to me more in my daily life where, you know, like someone just assuming like, oh, ma'am or mom, or
yes.
like that type of like every day I pick up my kids and they're like, hi, Tessa's mom. And I'm like, hey, kiddos. Yeah. So I think I see myself that way. And to me, the 6-year-old at aftercare is the same as a kid that's probably like in a 101 right now, where I'm like, oh yeah, like, what's up, kiddo? Like, I'm so excited you're here.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't have kids, so I haven't been like redefined and molded by the culture around me. Like, I'm not being constantly reinforced as like an upper generation and here are all the young people. Like, I just live in this bubble of like, I'm still hanging out with my improv buds. You know, Ryan comes over and we chat and it's like, we're the same age and we don't have kids. And my world is kind of kidless. Interesting.
And so I feel like it forces me into, this like adult vibe that I live in, where it's like, okay, cool. Like, how do I...
On the surface, you seem and look very cool. If I was coming in cold, like, look at you. Like, I'd be like, who's this? This girl's about to sell me a record and like convince me to get a piercing.
I feel like I always joke that I'm like, oh, I definitely have the taste of like a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah,
where I'm like,
awesome.
And so I've had this happen where then in my adult life, I will reference like online trends or memes and stuff that like no one my age knows. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I don't.
You're caught between worlds.
I'm caught between worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just so weird then to go on stage and be like, this used to feel so natural. Like there's also this part of me too that I think I've been trying to embrace, which is a lot of my friends who are super successful as writers, as actors, or whatever, that are like kill it in the industry right now. I always tell myself like the reason that they're doing so well is because they were given the opportunities to succeed. And I think there's people who just like are just as talented, but for some reason that opportunity just like never came along. And it's just the hard part of like the entertainment industry is not a meritocracy.
It's luck of the draw.
It's luck of the draw. And like all of that.
Not to say that the people working aren't talented.
No,
it's
they are
talent
so talented.
Plus luck.
And that's also the same thing too. Like the thing I loved about coming to LA was like, oh, we were all the best people on our college improv teams. And now we're all together. But it is interesting because then it's like, oh, we all play at the same level now. And that's sort of the fun. And that's what I liked about being there, was just like, oh, there isn't anybody that we're like, God, if only this person could get cut. We're all like, no, everyone's good.
Awesome. Yeah.
And watching auditions for stuff and just being like, so many people deserve this and so many people will be so good at it, but like we can only choose 18 out of like 500. Like that's fucking crazy.
And now it's like American 700 or 800. It's just insane. Yeah. American Idol. God, like they're gonna start having like numbers on their chests and like the carpeted hotel conference room. Okay, I want to circle back to this, like the different life experiences aspect of playing, and like when you talk about, like, you used the divorce example, when you say like your level of specifics or what you would bring to to the table in a scene like that is darker and deeper. Talk about that. I want to talk about like what that in a practical sense actually looks like. Like what does it mean? Because it strikes me that like age is a superpower. In one side of the coin is what you're talking about, which is like discrimination, or like you feel like you're maybe not cool,
right?
Like, but the other side is you can play richer, deeper characters. What does that look like? What are these choices?
I have this thing now, and I consider this across all genres of art, that when I experience your art, I want to know who you are. And that's the thing that struck me from watching some of these younger improvisers, where I was like, you're pretending. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, what do you have to say? It's the same thing of like, we always talk about why this, why now? Like, why is it important that you're making this art now? And there's sometimes where people just want to make something beautiful, and that's great. But like, I want to see your opinions. And I feel like the more I play, the more personal it gets, like as I get older, because usually what's happening, and this could just be because I'm a fucking mom locked up in a house, where I'm like, whatever is on my mind is going to come out on stage that night. Like whatever I've been dealing with is like what I want to fucking talk about.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it's now really hitting home, going back to Ian Roberts' The Flash exercise.
Yeah, talk about this.
I was in the class. had a class where he was essentially trying to hone it so that it could become something that would be in the curriculum. So he brought a group of us together to be like, okay, let's just like try and figure this out. And in the time, it felt so hard and none of us really could do it. And we were all struggling so much in this class. But now, like the second I hear something, it's like in my mind, it's the memory. I'm just like immediately like, oh, like, someone asked me on stage in this class, like, what's your favorite animal? And I was like, oh, the albino alligator. Because like I grew up near San Francisco where there's an albino alligator that's kept in Golden Gate Park.
Yep. And I think it just died recently.
Yeah. Buddy. I mean, how long can an alligator? It's from my childhood. And you can't just find those.
You can't. Like, I've tried.
Oh, good.
I have tried. I'm out there with a flashlight every night.
Yeah. But like after class, this dude walked up to me and he's like, oh, you're from the Bay. And I was just like, yeah, man, like totally. Like, and to me, I'm like, that is so much better than just being like, oh, I like cats, you know? Right. And in the mind, like not thinking like, well, what's the funnier thing to say here? Unless it serves your game to be like, well, clearly my animal should be blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, it was the top of a scene. And so it's just finding those personal aspects. Because then, like, the second that dude saw it, he was like, oh, this character's from San Francisco. They're, you know, like, it's, like, easier to identify. And I think, one, if you haven't had enough life experiences, you're not going to have those flashes.
Yeah.
And I think people sometimes shy away from, like, maybe more personal, hurtful things because they're like, oh, I wouldn't want to talk about that on stage. But I'm like, but there's a way to make that fun. I'm not saying get on stage and like vomit out all of your trauma, but I am being like, oh yeah, like let's have that scene because there could be someone in the audience that's like, oh my God, my parents got divorced and like this is such a funny representation of like what happened.
Yeah, there's like rich specifics in there.
Yeah.
No one is better at that aspect of play than Allie Beardsley.
Oh,
they
God.
are able to like surgically get to the center of something and pull out the most rich specific. They remember things that like they will unlock memories in me where I'm like, I haven't thought about that product in years.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's such a special skill.
My hairstylist unlocked this memory for the other day where we were talking about when we were kids taking baths. And she was like, do you remember when you put conditioner in your hair and you'd lay in the tub and go side to side?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, and I was like, to do that in a scene, like something like that where I'm like, that would make me so happy.
And calling it cream rinse.
Oh my God. And then I was like, and then I remember I would use too much and then I would get out of the tub and drench my hair in No More Tears. And it was so greasy until my mom's friend asked her in front of me, why is your daughter's hair so oily? And she was like, she just puts a lot of shit in it. And so then I was like,
she loves
never
product.
Again. Yeah.
Note to self, must become 15-year-old boy.
Okay.
Engage.
But I think there's something to playing personally. And I think the same thing of like, oh, now I have the hindsight if I could go back to like when I was performing all the time. Because also there was a point in my life where I think I would be on stage 6-7 nights a week, sometimes multiple shows in a night. And it was like, oh, I'm at my fittest. So now to play and kind of realize like, oh, I'm just not, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
So to feel like it's like the glory days of like when I was doing it all the time to now be like, oh, maybe I get to like run a lap around the track. It feels like, oh, like this doesn't feel as good as it did.
But I bet you could get it back. I bet it would come back because like I was rusty as hell coming out of COVID. Like I could feel the creak in every move.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long of like playing regularly for it to just, it like within a month or two, it was like, oh, here I am.
And I think it's hard now because I'm like, I don't know how to start that like regular thing. And the same thing of like ego of being like, do I want to fucking hire a coach and like ask a bunch of people and be like the person who organizes the team and like all it's like hard to get there.
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and Britt Faye, who does our marketing. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us. So it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.